That right there is the story, guys. That right there, that headline on CNBC says it all. Twitter shares soar because Elon Musk has purchased 9% of the company, 9.2%, if we're going to be honest. Welcome, everybody, to the Morning Rumble. I'm Tony Katz. Good to be with you. Presented by, well, not TK. Not TK. Boom. Americans for Prosperity. AmericansForProsperity.org. Fantastic people who allow me to do this show. And I greatly appreciate it. Does anything change because of this purchase? Now, you got to know how this began. This began with a tweet from Elon Musk in a poll he put on Twitter. 2 million people responded to the poll about, what should be done about Twitter and should platforms be about free speech or not? And of course, the overwhelming answer was yes, they should be. None of the people who work at Twitter answered the poll because they don't believe this. And they don't believe this not because I say so, but because they say so. Everything they do, everything they've done, everything they continue to be about is about not believing in free speech, not engaging it, silencing the people they disagree with. Remember, the people who claim to be good and decent are the authoritarians. Honestly, they're the Puritans of their day. You cannot be engaging in blaspheming now, can you? Honestly, I'm surprised they aren't just screaming blasphemer everywhere, just because I love the word blasphemer. So he put this out there, and then a couple weeks later, he's doing this. A 9%, actually 9.2% stake in the company. If you follow me on Locals at all, the group Locals, TonyKatz.locals.com, I put out a poll. We're going to try and do this most mornings. It's a quick video for everybody, not just supporters. Supporters get very, very cool content and special things, access to the show sheet, which is all the stories I'm talking about on radio that day, the things I think are important, my notes on them. They get that when you're a supporter, and there's a discount for the first 100 supporters right now. TonyKatz.locals.com. Go be a supporter, please, and thank you very, very much. But I put out this poll, and I want you to go to it and answer the question. The question of, do you think it makes a difference that he buys this? Do you think it makes a difference? Do you think that things change? Do you think that anything that he does changes there? And I got to tell you, I don't. Now understand that I'm not anti-Elon Musk. I never have been. Let him create, let him innovate, let him get people to believe and to follow. Do I want him getting as many government subsidies as he has? No, I believe in less government subsidies. But I can't get angry at a guy who got something that we allowed to be gotten. We shouldn't allow it to be gotten. That's the story. Not angry at a specific guy for getting them, right? I'm not Bernie Sanders, who hates him and hates Jeff Bezos and Richard Branson. Billionaires playing with their rocket ships, says Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders is upset that guys like this buy yachts, super yachts, $70 million. The guy who makes super yachts is super happy that Elon or Bezos or Branson or anybody else is getting a super yacht, because that's their business. And they're able to make money because someone's buying a super yacht, a $70 million yacht, or a $7 million yacht. I think if you have a $7 million yacht, you're doing okay. Just a little bit of applause there. Things are going okay, not too shabby. If you have a $700,000 yacht, I have no boats. I don't have a boat because I'm not interested in having a boat. I am very interested in having friends who have boats. So if you have a boat, hi, friend. Now, the question, of course, is, does anything change? And I don't believe anything changes. I want to say for the record, I don't believe anything changes because Elon Musk does this. Can he apply public pressure to Twitter? Yeah, sure he can. But he can do that without being an owner. Yes, being an owner adds a level, without question, adds a level of pressure. I wholeheartedly agree. But you can't convince a coder or somebody who works at Twitter, who is never going to make as much money as Elon Musk, that they should care. They're right. The political right is evil, and they're going to silence them all. And if he doesn't like it, they'll get fired or they'll quit and they'll become a martyr. This is why I am not so convinced that we get a big change. It's why when he had asked the question, when Elon Musk asked the question, and I'm not saying Elon Musk and I are friends, because we're not. We've never met. I think we've had one interaction on Twitter. But I always respond like somehow I know the dude. It's very weird. And I said, you don't need to open up your own platform. Because people, when he asked, what should we do about this? People are like, buy Twitter and do this. No, I favored him building out server farms. Because there are plenty of people who can create the technology and maybe better than him and have a vision possibly better than his. What he has the opportunity to do is engage his capital in a way that ensures people can speak. And that's keeping the site online, not letting it get parlored, right? So server farms is a very, very good idea to allowing people like myself the ability to speak freely and you the ability to speak freely. I mean, there's a reason we do this show at Rumble, rumble.com/Tony Katz, where you should subscribe, rumble.com/Tony Katz. Subscribe immediately, if not sooner. So I think that's the part that mattered. Like that was my advice to him. Buying 9%, 9.2% of Twitter is pretty interesting. I believe he can apply pressure. I am just not one of those people who's convinced. I mean, you tell me, you agree or disagree. I'm just not convinced that it's going to get people to change over there. I don't think other big tech looks at this and says, maybe I need to rethink what's going on here. I just don't see that as the case. I just don't. I absolutely positively do not. That said, I'd be happy to be wrong. I'd be overjoyed to be wrong. I don't think I am. But speaking of being wrong, Jennifer Rubin, holy cow. She writes over at the Washington Post, and Jennifer Rubin, I think, used to claim herself a conservative. And then, well, as is known to happen, Donald Trump broke her in two. Donald Trump broke her in half. Just ruined her. Absolutely ruined her. And to that end, you got to hear a clip. You got to hear a bit of audio. This is CNN. CNN, a panel talking about the economy and the claims that the White House is making about the Putin price hike.
Energy right now. And so those are the concerns that he has to balance because inflation is such a high concern. And so when you talk about these wage gains, as he was talking about on Friday, they have to balance that with the fact that that is being undermined by inflation.
Look, everything the president just said that we just listened is true. It's also largely irrelevant. When inflation is where it's at, when you see gas prices going where it's at, we can talk about a jobs report here. We can talk about the latest PCE numbers or the CPI, and all of us former Bloomberg reporters can really get into the weeds, right? But there's one number that they can't really change right now, and that is what the placard says at the local gas station.
Yeah.
And that number is high, and that's a daily jobs report that voters, that Americans, consumers see every day, and there's nothing the White House can do about it other than bring down the price of gasoline, which is tough.
And maybe blame Putin. And this week the tagline was the Putin price hikes or something to that effect.
Look, when I drive past gas stations that say blame Putin more than they say let's go Brandon, I'll know the White House the White House.
That was said on CNN is stunning, but it also happens to be very, very true. This is not where they want to put it at the feet of Vladimir Putin. Putin has plenty of things that he's guilty of. This is bad policy. This is bad theory. This is bad philosophy. This is radical leftist ideology. And Pete Buttigieg, he's tripling down.
So less dependent on foreign oil, and that protects us from shortages at fuel stations. But here's the thing to remember. Even if all of the oil we use in the USA were made in the USA, the price of it is still subject to powers and dynamics outside of the USA, which means that until we achieve a form of energy independence that is based on clean energy created here at home, American citizens will still be vulnerable to wild price hikes like we're seeing right now.
For as long as I've been talking about Pete Buttigieg, who was the former mayor of South Bend, Indiana, just a few hours from where I'm at in Indianapolis, I've referred to him as smarmy. Definitely over his head, a terrible mayor in South Bend, just ask people in South Bend, and certainly over his head here. Being a Rhodes Scholar isn't what it used to be. He comes across as smarmy. But it doesn't matter what you do to oil and the price of oil. Without green, you're just going to be subject to and a victim of the price hikes. Green is the price hike, and no one has an issue with green. Once again, no one cares if it's solar or if it's wind that were to power my car, but it doesn't work. So why are you still talking to me about it? Until you get it to work, that it can work as well as oil, leave me alone. Stop screaming at the people who want oil. Stop making it more difficult for the country to be energy secure. Stop making the country more at risk. And not just you, the administration, what you're doing to the banks and others that are making it more difficult to lend and engage capital in these areas. Stop putting the country more at risk. And the answer is no. They won't stop putting the country more at risk, but they will continue to lie about what Joe Biden's doing. And that brings us to Jennifer Rubin. Holy cow, from the Washington Post. Yes, Trump broke this woman in two. She is a lost mind. Are you ready for it? I actually got to take down the banner here so you can get it in full. Are you ready for this? This is Jennifer Rubin writing at the Washington Post, her tweet. If you look below, Biden's economy is extraordinary. If it weren't for inflation, this president's economic performance would be unmatched. And then up top, she's blaming the Federal Reserve because they're not controlling inflation. Jennifer Rubin must be proud to be a know-nothing. First, you have a situation by which people have gone back to work from jobs they were told they could not go to because of COVID. Anybody who is anybody, ask a 5-year-old. If you have a job and this force tells you can't go to the job, and then after 2 years says you can go back to the job, was that a job created? The answer is no. A job I go back to that I already have is not a job created. A job created is because the business is going so well, they need 5 more people to do the thing to serve the customer or the clients, etc. The Biden administration has not created a single job. They have not created a job. People going back to work is not job creation. Jennifer Rubin knows this, but she's lying in the pages of the Washington Post to help her guy, who is not the Trump guy, which is all she cares about, seem more attractive. Lying to you about the economy, lying to all of us about the economy. You can't say but for inflation. Inflation is real. And if you're going to blame the Fed for this, well, then you don't understand the job of the Fed in relationship to policy. Yes, the Fed 150% can bring down interest rates or increase interest rates, and that can have an effect on inflation. But if you don't stop government spending, what does it matter what happens with inflation? What does it actually matter? Jennifer Rubin is so ignorant about the subject that she isn't willing to recognize that the Fed only has one lever at their disposal: increase or decrease interest rates. That's it. That's all their ability is. But governments and the president can reduce spending, putting less cash into the system and therefore allowing those inflationary pressures to come down. Not this White House. It's about more spending. Not this White House. It's about sending out a check to help people pay for gas. Not this White House, because their policies need green energy to be accessible. So in order to do that, oil prices, they like it. See this? This is moving it up. I don't know if this is, but it's just what I had at the moment. That's what they like. And they like moving the oil prices up. These are all Rahm Emanuel followers. Never let a crisis go to waste. And so they won't. They won't let a crisis go to waste. It's an opportunity to push more expensive green. And green will always be more expensive because it doesn't work yet. There will be other forces at play there. And Jennifer Rubin acts like none of that's real. It's an incredible, stunning, remarkable lie from a stunning, remarkable liar. Jennifer Rubin is broken. To trust her is to, what would it be akin to? To trust Jennifer Rubin about the economy would be to what? How would I best describe that? It would be it would be to like Bernie Madoff giving you financial advice. There you go. One of many. The ones I thought of were a little too dirty. I couldn't say them. I admit, I don't know why. Like I had like 3. Boom, boom, boom. And like, I can't say those. So I had to stretch for Bernie Madoff, people. That happened. That happened in real time. Let me go to some of the comments right here. Facebook is being sued into oblivion. Did I miss a story, Larry? What do you mean Facebook is being sued into oblivion? I didn't know that. I had absolutely no idea that Facebook was being sued into oblivion. I don't think they're going into oblivion. They have a lot of daily active users. It might not be enough for the guys who invest. You know what I mean? But I don't think they're going into oblivion anytime soon. A boat is a hole in the water in which one pours money. That is true about boats. And the 2 best days of owning a boat, the day you buy it and the day you sell it. I know that one. Boat stands for break out another 1,000. That's what it does. I don't want a boat. I just want friends with boats. Right? Living in Indiana, having a boat is not necessary to your existence. But we do have a couple cool lakes and some reservoirs where people, a lot of the pontoon boats. Right? So they sit and they drink on the boat all day. After the first 2 hours, I'm done. And if I want to have a drink and a cigar, can't I just do that on land overlooking the water? Do I need to be on the boat? And that's when the whole thing falls apart for me. It's like, I'm not going to do this. I don't need to be. I don't need to be any part of this. So thus, I do not have a boat. By the way, just aware the market the Dow is down 16 and the NASDAQ, is that a 174? Now, by the way, you'll see this headline here from CNBC. Biden calls to put Putin on trial for war crimes. He's not doing anybody any favors when he does this. He really and truly isn't doing anybody any favors. But there is no doubt there is not any doubt that Putin has and his military has just killed civilians left, right, and center. And what they're finding in a lot of these places certainly seems horrific based on some of those initial reports and shallow graves and things like that. But if you're there trying to, if you're trying to claim that you don't want to instigate, and you've already called for war crimes, and Emmanuel Macron, the president of France, called them war crimes, and now you're saying put them on trial, it's instigating. So I'm not quite sure what's going on. I am openly asking the question of whether or not these latest developments are going to get NATO to say, you know what, we're in. Right? Is there a horror that Americans will see and European nations will see that make them say we can't sit idly by? But then you're going under the belief that you won't have any tactical strikes from Putin. And that would be a little bit of intelligence that I don't have at my fingertips. I don't have accessible to me. Right there. Glad you guys are here. Glad you're a part of the Morning Rumble presented by Americans for Prosperity. Where is that? Where's that? Boom, right there. AmericansForProsperity.org. Appreciate them very, very much. Happy to answer the questions. Make sure you get over to the locals page, TonyKatz.locals.com. We've got a discount for the first 100 paid subscribers, right? That's where we have a discount going on right now. So get there. The daily poll question will be there that we're going to utilize on this show right here. The chat room that you'll be available to get into when we do the radio shows, which is pretty awesome. And then some of the things we're doing in addition, which are super grooving. More shows coming. I don't know when there's time to sleep, but screw it. Sleep is dumb. It's not. Sleep is freaking awesome. And I love it. But there's work to be done. And that's all there is to it. Let me go back to the comments really quick right here. Okay, so somebody's suing. All right, just because somebody's suing, it's not sued into oblivion. That's my only point, Larry. Facebook will still exist. It's going to still exist. That's it. That was my only argument, my only point whatsoever. And don't forget TonyKatz.locals.com and answer the question: will Elon Musk owning 9.2% of Twitter, which he does now, will that change anything about Twitter? I'm not a believer, but I could be proven wrong. Absolutely. Guys, thank you for joining the Morning Rumble. Don't forget to subscribe at Rumble, rumble.com/TonyKatz. We'll catch you tomorrow. Take care.